At 45, she thought she was secure. Two incomes, a six-figure household, a home in a good neighborhood, vacations, new cars in the driveway. From the outside, it looked stable. But stability built on income alone is fragile. When the divorce finalized, everything shifted. The house had to be sold. The business she co-signed for failed. Legal fees stacked up. Credit cards filled the gap. Savings disappeared faster than she expected. Within a year, she wasn't choosing what to pay. She was choosing what to miss. Mortgage, credit cards, utilities. At 45, she had lost the house. Her credit was damaged, and for the first time in her adult life, she realized something uncomfortable. She had built a lifestyle, but not wealth. The collapse didn't happen in 1 year. It happened slowly, quietly, over a decade. When income increased, spending increased. Raises became renovations. Bonuses became vacations. Promotions became new car payments. It felt like progress. But it was expansion without insulation. There was no emergency fund, no significant savings outside retirement accounts, no margin for disruption. Income covered the lifestyle, barely. The business loan she co-signed for seemed like a smart move. Optimism replaced risk analysis. It will work out became the strategy. Inside the marriage, money conversations were avoided. Growth was assumed. Stability was assumed. But assumptions are not financial plans. By the time the divorce finalized, the math was already broken. The income was gone. The obligations remained. At first, she believed she could recover without drastic action. She told herself she just needed time to work more hours, time to negotiate with creditors, time to catch up. But debt doesn't wait for recovery. Interest compounds. Minimum payments grow. Stress becomes constant. Soon the numbers stopped making sense. The credit cards were maxed out. Collection calls started arriving. The mortgage payments were already months behind. Every decision felt like triage. Which bill could wait? Which creditor might be more patient? Nights became spreadsheets and anxiety. Days became phone calls and apologies. And eventually, she had to confront a question she had avoided for months. What if I can't fix this? Not by working harder, not by cutting expenses, not by hoping things improve. What if the numbers simply don't work anymore? That's the moment many people arrive at quietly. When the emotional resistance finally meets mathematical reality, and that's when the word most people fear begins to surface. Bankruptcy. When people hear the word bankruptcy, they often think of failure. But bankruptcy was never designed to punish people. It exists to reset financial systems that are no longer recoverable. The real question isn't whether bankruptcy feels uncomfortable. The real question is whether the financial math still works. In her case, the numbers had crossed a point of no return. Even if she worked more hours, even if she cut every possible expense, even if she made minimum payments on every debt, the balances would continue growing faster than she could reduce them. This is the moment when bankruptcy becomes a financial decision, not an emotional one. When debt reaches a level where recovery would take decades instead of years, when interest consumes the majority of payments, when financial stress prevents forward progress, bankruptcy stops being a failure. It becomes a strategic reset. For her, that realization changed everything. The question was no longer, how do I avoid bankruptcy? The question became, how do I rebuild from here? Filing bankruptcy didn't solve her financial life overnight. It simply cleared the battlefield. The debts were discharged. The house was already gone. The lifestyle she once maintained was no longer possible. And strangely, that clarity was freeing. For the first time in years, the numbers were simple again. She moved into a small rented apartment, no extra space, no extra expenses. Instead of chasing unstable income, she took a steady job with predictable pay. The goal was no longer expansion. The goal was stability. She built her first real emergency fund, 6 months of expenses, something she had never done before. Then she rebuilt credit slowly, one secured card, small balances, paid in full every month. There were no dramatic breakthroughs, just consistent behavior. Month after month, the system began working. The first year after bankruptcy wasn't about wealth. It was about stability. She tracked every expense, avoided new debt, built financial routines she had never practiced before. Slowly, the stress that once dominated her life began to fade. By year 2, her credit score had started recovering. By year 3, she had saved more cash than she had ever held outside retirement accounts. For the first time in her adult life, money wasn't disappearing as fast as it arrived. The system was working. By year 5, she opened her first investment account. Nothing complicated, just consistent monthly contributions. No speculation, no shortcuts. By year 7, she had enough stability to purchase a modest home again, smaller than the one she had lost. But this time, the foundation was different. The lifestyle came after the financial structure. And by the 10th year, something surprising had happened. The collapse that once felt like the end of her financial life had quietly become the beginning of her real wealth-building journey. Financial recovery follows a sequence: stability, savings, credit recovery, investing, ownership. Most people try to skip steps. She didn't. When people hear stories like this, they often focus on the bankruptcy. But bankruptcy wasn't the most important part of her story. The real change happened after. She stopped measuring success by income and started measuring it by stability. She stopped expanding her lifestyle every time money increased and started building financial margin. And she stopped assuming the future would take care of itself. Instead, she built systems that protected it. Losing everything at 45 felt like the end of her financial life. But in reality, it forced her to build something stronger, not just wealth, financial awareness, discipline, boundaries. The truth is, wealth isn't built once. For many people, it's built twice. The first time through optimism, the second time through understanding, and the second time, it usually lasts. If you're rebuilding your finances after a setback, remember this: collapse doesn't define your future. The system you build afterward does.